Welcome to the Inside Out Money Podcast.
Can't even recognize this place. Too many pieces of our past mistakes.
Hi, I'm Maggie, and I believe real change starts from the inside out. So let's work together to improve our money and our lives from the inside out. We will explore all things money and our relationship with it. Join me each week with a rotating set of co-hosts, friends, and interviews. Let's jump in.
It's time, we going round and round and round and round and round.
Hey, Erica.
Hey, Maggie.
We got to stop our plastic surgery discussion and move on to a personal finance discussion.
Okay, that's fine. I'll allow it.
Someday there's going to be a, what do they call that side place where people pay? Oh, Patreon account where you get to hear all the before and after discussions.
Oh, this is new to me.
Before and after the podcast. Oh, there's a lot of people that like you pay extra. They'll charge extra for like the behind the scenes version of the podcast. Liz and I always joke about it because we will just talk about some like crazy. We'll go on for another 40 minutes like off script of any recording.
I believe it.
You can imagine it, right? Okay, on that point, welcome everyone to Inside Out Money. This is a personal finance podcast. It might be hard to tell that, but it is. We'll get there. Focused on redefining wealth from the inside out. Each week I speak with a rotating set of co-hosts about a different financial topic to help you improve your financial mindset and tactics. Today we have co-host Erica here, and we are going to talk about a topic that I think we all need to talk about more, and that is mental health. And I wish I could say this was like tying in with Mental Health Awareness Month or something, which I think might be a real thing.
It is. But I just don't know
July.
what month. Yeah, it's July, but...
Oh, wait, I'm gonna find out real quick.
Okay.
It's actually a week. No, it's a month in May.
That's what I was going to say. Okay, because that's also AAPI Heritage Month.
AA what?
PI, Asian...
What's PI?
Pacific Islanders.
Oh, Asian Pacific. Okay. Sorry. That was just a very specific thing you threw out. So.
Oh, yes. AAPI.
Like you knew May was. Okay. You've done a lot of DE&I work. I feel like we're putting out a lot of letters right now.
A lot of letters,
you know?
a lot of acronyms.
On that note, mental health, which is just MH if you want the acronym. Just kidding. We're going to talk about the intersection of mental health and financial health. And, you know, I think this is incredibly powerful, and there is a very specific, like, omnipresent link between your mental health and your personal finances or your financial health, however you want to refer to it. And I think the reality in, you know, the current landscape of the world we live in, where I feel like I sound like old when I make comments like that, but I'm always like telling my kids, I'm like, you know, it was just like a simpler time when I was your age, you know? Like, there's just like a lot of unrest in the world and rising cost of living and economic uncertainty and so much going on in terms of like political divides. And anyways, if there was ever a good time to have more awareness and discussions about mental health, I think now is the time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, yes, things were simpler.
Or May was the time.
Well,
we're here now.
Let's just carry May forward. But yeah, you're right. Things were simpler, and there's a lot more volatility in the world, which is really the understatement. And what happens in the world kind of affects the market, our pockets, our paychecks, our finances, jobs, everything. It all ties together. And then that snowballs into like how we absorb it emotionally, mentally, all of that.
Yeah, like how we show up for ourselves, but also like how we show up for our wallet. Anyway, so we're going to discuss this connection. We're going to get into some very specific recommendations for financial strategies that will help your mental well-being, and then mental strategies that will help your financial well-being. So like, you know, both sides. You can't see my hand images that I'm showing Erica, but like, you know, we're going to attack this topic from both angles.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is a good one.
So I think it's always helpful to, you know, we're stating the obvious here, but I think it's nice to just like remind people foundationally that these two things are related and why this topic matters, right? So ultimately, there are a lot of very direct connections between your mental health and your financial health, right? So the reality is that there's all these things around like what create our overall happiness, and happiness isn't even the right word, but like, I think just reminding people why this matters, and the idea that there are all of these things like your level of stress and anxiety, your sleep, your relationships, like all of these different things, even how you show up at work, that ultimately are impacted by your finances and vice versa, like I was just saying. So it's like, if you have a lot of financial worries and you're in debt and you're insecure about your job, you're like, or insecure sounds wrong, but you're stressed. There was a time, Erica, recently where like you were stressed about your job, right? And it was because you knew you could, read the tea leaves of what was happening in the economy in your industry. It's stressful, right? And it adds to your overall, I'd say physical, but also like your mental health suffers as a result of things like that. And then that can have a big impact on your finances, right? So it's like the idea that, your finances can cause that stress, but also other types of stress can also cause you to spend more, right? And we'll talk about like both sides of that and it coming from both directions. I'm like getting off track here, but I was really just trying to make the point that this matters because it affects all these things. Like that the two things are related.
Yeah. I
think, we're all pretty aware of the fact that these things are connected, but there's so much research that supports this, right? There's stats like 86% of people with mental health problems surveyed by a particular organization, which I'm not going to name, stated that their financial situation made their mental health problems worse. 46% of people in debt also have a mental health problem, right? There's just a lot of like things where these things are very interconnected. So 72% of respondents said their mental health problems made their financial situation worse. 63% of people with mental health problems found it harder to make financial decisions, right? 42% of people with mental health problems put off paying bills. 38% took out a loan that they otherwise would not have taken out, right? And so there's just like all these stats around these two things like fuel, kind of the worst in each other.
And it makes sense because even if maybe you have like, a lot of people struggle with mental health in various ways. Regardless of where you are on that spectrum, what we've talked about in this podcast a lot is that finances can be really intimidating and overwhelming in general. And if you already are someone who experiences overwhelming anxiety on a daily basis, having to deal with your finances and make financial decisions can just feel overly burdensome. And so hopefully this conversation is a way to make you feel like you're not alone in feeling that way, but also some little tiny tactics to help you just go easy on yourself and take it step by step to get yourself to where it feels a little less overwhelming and you're in control of it, of your finances and in how you approach your thinking around your mental health and just how you show up in general.
Yeah, I think that is a really important point, Erica, because I forget sometimes that we are all coming from different places in terms of not just like our financial privilege, but our current financial health, our current mental health. So all these things like that example you just gave where like there are certain things, I struggle with, but they're different than what someone else struggles with. So when I hear someone else that struggles to get some like basic financial task taken care of or like handled proactively, to me, I'm like, oh, that would be exciting to tackle. And, but that is not the way that I would actually say the majority of people think about that. And so I do think it's important, like just even to remind myself, but to remind everybody that we're all coming from a different place. And you really don't know where other people are coming from. You don't know the like past trauma they have that could impact. It could be, financial trauma. It could be other trauma, big T trauma, little T trauma. But like, you don't know what is fueling somebody's current mental state and their current financial state, right? All the things, the kind of headwinds that are, for or against them. But I think it's just a good reminder to even just in our own like judgments of other people to appreciate that we're all coming from a different place on both sides of things. And just what you said of like having some, grace and compassion. Because not that I don't have compassion for it, but I forget sometimes that like, this isn't fun for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like you said, like everyone has everyone is coming from a different place, so there might be something driving people differently, or that creates this intimidation or just dislike for this topic in general. And so if anyone's even like listening to this podcast, like that's step one in the right direction.
Yeah,
so
totally.
So kudos to you.
Like, yeah, you're doing what you should be doing. I actually hear a lot of people that leave feedback on the podcast. One of the things they like about this podcast is that it is more conversational and kind of casual and like literally just friends talking about money. And it's not just like dry and tactical as some podcasts can be, but it's not coming down on you for, oh, you got to do it this way. And you got to, there's only one way and you have to be doing X, Y, Z or you're a complete idiot. And it really is like, it's just a nice weekly reminder to keep this stuff top of mind and to do what we can when we can to, make improvements.
Yeah, I mean, like any sort of practice, like even like mindset practices in general, like anything that does contribute to your mental health. These are all practices that the more you do them, the easier they become. And so the more you are aware and current with being mindful of your finances, the easier, hopefully, it will become, and the more control you will start to feel over how you contribute to them and make changes for yourself. But let's get into some of the examples of how mental health can impact your financial decisions, because it can become a downward spiral.
My biggest example that I always think of is like, I remember I worked late a lot, pre-kids mostly, but also post-kids sometimes. And the longer of a day I had, the more I was like, I'm going to pick up food on my way home, which there's no problem with, I'm just saying. But like, the more I was like, I'm going to pick up food on my way home. I'm going to buy this because I deserve it. Whatever. Like, I'm stressed and I want to like spend money. I mean, some people jokingly call it retail therapy, right? But like, it can feel really good to buy things and to spend money as a coping mechanism for stress. And it could be work stress, relationship stress. Honestly, ironically, it can even be like financial stress of like, you're in debt and you're so stressed by that, you're just like spending more money because that makes you feel good in the short term. Yeah,
which is probably common, because I'm sure I can think of probably examples where I've been in that situation. It's just like, you just want to put on some blinders and pretend like that's not the issue.
I've talked to people who are like, when I've had a bad day or like gone through a breakup or all sorts of things, like I like to just go walk around TJ Maxx or walk around Target and like pick out things to buy, and it makes me feel better. And I know it's not helping me, but like, so I think that is one of the more common ones that most people can appreciate and relate to.
Yeah, another example of that is like just avoiding and procrastinating around making some things that could help your finances, like ignoring bills, not checking bank statements, not keeping up with your finances or tracking a budget. If you set one for yourself, which sometimes I'm a little guilty of, I'm like, oh, I know it's there, but then I'm not actively, like, I'm like, oh, it's just, doing stuff. Not looking at it. I'm not looking at it. Like, I mean, that's the easiest way to say it.
It's like out of sight, out of mind.
It's exactly what it is. It's like, you got to keep these things in practice. You got to keep them in front of you. Doesn't always happen. Like, I know I have the Monarch app and I look at it, but I'm not like really looking at it.
Yeah.
Full disclosure.
You're like, you see the icon on your phone, but you're like, I'm not going to touch it.
Right.
Press it.
I see that. I see that it's there. But if I touch it, then it shows me stuff.
I get the emails from Monarch that are like, on the second day of the month, you are over your clothing budget. And then I'm just like, archive.
I get all those. I'm like, I already know. Delete.
I do see them and I'm like, yes, I'm aware. I just bought a new pair of shoes. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thanks for keeping an eye out.
Yeah. Good looking out, Monarch. Gonna ignore you also, right now. What is this spam?
In that case, I will say I'm not in debt, but if you are in debt, that's even worse, right? Because I can laugh it off, but it's like, if I were in debt, like I want to try to take that stuff more seriously, because it's this ongoing downward spiral, right? Being in debt makes my mental health not feel well, right? Like I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel confident. It's going to actually impact my mental health in a negative way, which there's a ton of research that supports the reality of that. Being in debt puts a lot of stress on people, like serious stress of like how I pay my bills, if I'm going to have a home to live in next month for certain people, right? If I'm going to be able to feed my kids, like there's all sorts of these, there's a huge spectrum of how serious the consequences of debt and financial struggles can have on your mental health, but they're big, right? Like it has an impact. And then ironically, it's just this whole negative spiral, right? Those struggles can impact your job performance. And then you start not performing as well at your job. You're, calling in sick, whatever it is. You're not as able and showing up in a way where you're going to be able to like get promoted and get new opportunities. Then that reduces your income potential. And then you continue, again, it can be this downward spiral. And so I think, to me, the idea of focusing on your mental health and your financial health, and I would argue like financial health is a huge piece of just like overall wellness, right? Like you've seen like different wellness wheels and financial health is actually on it. These things are just so interrelated and can have all of these like, positive builds on top of each other, or they can have all of these like downward spirals where they're just, like getting worse and worse, both of them as a result of the other.
Yeah. And like one thing that could potentially be an easy coping mechanism is like substance abuse, like unhealthy coping, which further exacerbates poor mental health. So, I mean, a lot of these things, like they all tie in together. And like you said, we both said it's a downward spiral and it can really just snowball quickly without just having tools, having awareness.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the substance abuse example, it also can have, like detrimental impact on your finances, right? That's where you're like losing a job. You can, just there's so many negative impacts that can come from that. So, okay, on to like we're really hitting people with a lot of downers here. But I think what we want to spend most of this episode talking about is how you can actually take action for improving both your mental and financial health. Some like very real strategies. Again, there's things you can do initiating it from both sides, right? There's financial stuff you can do that will improve your well-being. And then there's well-being mental health stuff that will improve your finances. So it's this whole, I feel like there's this like image in my head, and I guess it's just a circle.
Or like an infinity loop where it's like they just kind of like keep going with each other. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. It's like two concentric circles and I'm in the middle. Or I mean, I'm not me to be clear, but you're in the middle, whoever's listening. So on the first one, which we're going to spend less time on, ironically, since the focus of this episode is really mental health. Look, we should have, by the way, Erica, at the very beginning, we should have had like a huge disclaimer that says we are not mental health professionals, nor are we financial health professionals in any sort of legitimate capacity. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. We are giving you, our opinions. We're doing our best, and we are having a conversation with you all. But don't think that either Erica or I have any sort of credentials from a mental health standpoint.
That's correct. But we're here to hopefully provide some sort of support for people who are curious on this topic.
And we are also human beings, just like you listening. Well, AI might be listening too, and other bots, but, Anyways, I'm getting off track. Okay, financial health strategies for your mental well-being. I'm going to gloss over this so quickly because this is literally what this podcast is. We have 100+ episodes you can go listen to, and 200 episodes on Friends on Fire, which was the podcast I had before this. So there's all the like things you should be doing, right? How important it is to have like a budget, or as Erica, I know you really like the term spending plan. I agree. That's a great term for it because it feels like
it feels less constrictive. Like you have more control over it as opposed to just being like pounded by the can'ts.
Yes. Yeah. So Monarch should really be like, your spending plan says that you have, purchased too many running shoes this month. It's really important to have a budget. We have whole episodes about this. You don't have to commit to like tracking your expenses or your budget for the whole year. Like do it for 1 week, right? Like start small on this stuff. And so I'm going to put a bunch of links in the show notes to episodes about some of these basic things that we've done. Like Erica, we've done a bunch about like taking small steps and like what those can be, like little things you can do while you Herkle-Durkle. That was a good episode. Mm-hmm. But you can literally do some of these things and start some of these things while you were like lying in bed. So anyways, stuff like, budget, spending plan, stuff like building an emergency fund, like that is your mental health peace of mind, right? Like having a solid emergency fund. Erica, you have an emergency fund, right?
Yes.
And when you lost your job recently, didn't it feel like so much better to have that?
Yes.
It just was like a significantly less amount of stress.
It took the stress away from the entire anxiety I was feeling, knowing that layoffs were coming. even though it wasn't my desired outcome, it was like, if it happens, I think I'll be okay. And then once it happened, it was like, okay, I will be okay for a little bit, you know? Like,
And you got some time to like think and figure out what you want to do next.
Yeah.
And, you know? Yeah. So I think, you know, having an emergency fund is great. Eventually you can build that up to what many people call like an FU fund, which is like so much money you can be like, I'm going to take a couple years off, or I'm going to do whatever. And eventually maybe it's retire and things like that. A small amount in an emergency fund, like starting from something, can significantly reduce your stress. So you want to like build an emergency fund. You want to tackle debt. You want to set some actual financial goals, right? Realistic, but small and medium term goals. You want to improve your financial literacy, right? Like you want to listen to more podcasts like this, watch YouTube videos, download books from the library, check out books from the library, whatever. Go to Blockbuster and rent a video, whatever you want.
Speaking of simpler
Miss that.
times.
Remember when we'd go to like Toco Hills and we'd like just cruise the like aisles at yeah.
Yeah, well, we actually have a video store in Portland, obviously, like Portland would, and we're
That's
members,
super retro,
and
yeah.
it's really fun to go and take the kids there.
What do you actually check out?
DVDs.
Oh, okay. I don't even have a DVD player anymore.
It was my 10-year gift from my company, which is like, wow, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Put in a lot
Thanks
of work.
for the relic from
Right.
the 90s.
Why not 8-track?
I know. I think someone gave them those DVD players for free.
I know. It didn't come in a box. Was that weird?
It was a little scratched up and dented,
Yeah.
but yeah, go like focus on improving your financial literacy, and then like automate as much as you can. So, anyways, I don't want to spend too much time on this because these are all the basics we talk about in all these episodes, and we have a lot of great foundational episodes. And so, I will put a link in the show notes to like, let's call it. This will be a fun thing to put in the show notes. I will do like our top 10 foundational episodes that cover what I would consider the like basic financial health strategies you guys should be following that I think will help your mental well-being. So that'll be something you can look forward to in the show notes. And then we can shift to really focusing on some mental health strategies that we think, when done, not even just well, right? When just done in tiny ways, right? Tiny attempts can improve your financial well-being.
And let's just rephrase that a little bit. Just well-being, which I think having an overall, generally healthy well-being contributes to all areas of your life.
I agree.
So probably the most basic of the mental health strategies is just having self-awareness and being mindful about a lot of things, but especially like your spending, your debt, like in general, if you have moments of feeling overwhelmed or wanting to spend some money on something, or like any sort of action that you're going to take, but it feels just like too much, put some space between the feeling and the action. And what I recommend is spend some time with yourself. That's a luxury that a lot of us don't have these days. Spend some time sitting with yourself to truly ask yourself like why you need or want to spend the money. Or if you're trying to take an action that feels too overwhelming, like why is this so overwhelming? And sit and see what shows up in your body. We spend so much time in our heads where really a lot of like what is prohibiting us from doing the things we need is like just stored in the body. So sit there and see what feelings come up and let them guide you. If you're talking about spending something or not spending something, see what shows up there. If it's a matter of taking an action that would be beneficial towards your finances, like just give yourself that moment of calm and count yourself into it.
Yeah. Oh, I like your count yourself into it.
I know, I just came up. I like that.
That sounds nice. I'm a big fan of meditation. We have some episodes. I know we did a Friends on Fire episode on this, and I know we've woven it into many ones, but like, the term meditation stresses a lot of people out because it feels overwhelming to them. So I like the term mindfulness because it sort of encompasses that and many other ways you can become more mindful.
If I could just also say something about the mindfulness. Mindfulness is putting yourself in the present moment. Meditation is too, with a deeper, more...
Yeah, it's a specific exercise.
It's a specific exercise, but being mindful is just being truly focused in the moment that you are in.
But if you're someone who's like, well, no, how do I become more mindful? And you like don't know how to sort of not get there because it's not a destination, but you don't know how to improve your mindfulness, meditation is one of the number one things if you want a specific thing to do. And there's a lot of different types. Sorry, not just can, but will improve your mindfulness because it is backed by a ridiculous amount of research and proof. And there's all of this, evidence on neuroplasticity and like we really can change our minds. And to me, the one thing I will say, and I'll get off my meditation rant, but like, if someone told you that there was something that you could do for free that would improve almost every aspect of your life, that you needed no supplies for, you just needed yourself, and you don't even need a chair, right? You can sit on the ground, you can stand up, you can do a walking meditation. There's so many different types. But if someone said, there's something I can show you and it will improve every aspect of your life and it costs nothing, oh, why wouldn't you do it? And that's my pitch on meditation. And I just think it can help in so many different ways of like you said, overall well-being, but also a ton of positive impact on your financial well-being because it gets you much more in touch with the reality of what will make you happy and what your values are around financial stuff and what you truly want to spend money on, not spending beyond what you have, being more appreciative of what you already have, like all these things that can save you a lot of money and really improve your financial well-being in so many different ways.
And possibly by spending that time really reflecting on that, you could recognize that something that actually makes you happy is paying off your debt and focusing on that. Because that leads to the financial freedom that you're seeking, that leads to freedom. And again, the snowball effect, but in a positive way, as opposed to the downward spiral that we spoke about earlier.
And then you're like jazzed to pay off your debt, right? You're not like, this is a burden and something that I don't want to do. By the way, it took me a little bit to remember, but we did a whole episode on, it was episode 20 and it was meditation will fix that. And it was Liz and I talking about the benefits. It was a really short episode. So it's an easy listen, but it was Liz and I talking about the benefits of meditation.
So you said you made a good point that meditation's free and it can help you change your mindset. Here are some other examples of things that are free that give you dopamine hits that you can also get by spending money or paying off debt. Although, we're not talking about the spending money. We're talking about like ways to improve yourself. But humor, laughing. You and I, we love to laugh together. Laughter is a stress reducer. It can give you the same dopamine hit that spending money can do. So we'll just make this simple. We're going to put a list of some of my favorite comedians, because I'm a comedy nerd, in the show notes, just as like, hey, do you need some place to start? And then maybe holler at Maggie and at me and let us know some of yours. Give us some recommendations. I'm always looking for some new comedians.
Yeah. And laughter doesn't have to be like watching a professional comedian, but that can be a good way too. It can just be, laughing with friends. Your version of laughter might be scrolling through videos, like I'd say like social media in moderation, but it can be really funny sometimes to like scroll through some really funny like videos and memes online.
Yeah, I really avoid social media in general, and especially like with my kids having any sort of like viewing into it. But today we were watching videos of it was like kiss your pet on the forehead and see what happens. Like give your pet a kiss. So it was like we watched the dog ones and it was sweet. And the dogs all like snuggled up with their owners. And then we watched the cat ones and it was like, how dare you? And they'd like swat at them, hiss at them. And we were laughing. And it was just like a really nice little bonding moment. And I was like, okay, we're done here. And then I quickly ruined it.
There's some other ones where like I watched some different like, I don't know how to describe them other than like middle-aged moms who like put out funny content. Like there's just all sorts of people, but like they'll put out some stuff where I am like laughing my ass off. Like,
right, prove it. Send it to me.
Some...
I don't know that middle-aged moms is like a target category for based on your
You're
face.
missing out, Erica. You're missing out.
It's too close to home.
That's why it's funny. Like this one lady's like always making fun of like crap her teenagers do, and it's like really cathartic, and it's so funny the way she talks about it. It's like what I'm thinking sometimes, but she articulates it better. And there'll be ones that are like recaps of like things teenagers said that are just so ridiculous. Questions they asked from college. I don't remember which one, but of like things they asked of like how they do the most simple things that they like have no idea how to do. Anyways, there's just some funny stuff out there. My point is there's a lot of like, again, in moderation, because it can also like negatively impact your mental health and your financial health. social media, I mean, but in moderation, there's some funny stuff out there. So if comedians aren't your thing, my point is like, it's okay if like 30 minutes of TikTok, scrolling of funny people is your thing. That could work. There's dancing videos that are great. I can go down a dancing rabbit hole.
Okay, all right, let's move this
Some
on.
family
Let's move
dancing?
this
Yeah,
along.
I know.
We're
Let's
just
keep
getting
going.
like Maggie's top
Okay.
hits. She's just gonna put like her whole TikTok algorithm.
I don't even have TikTok.
Me neither.
But there's some good stuff on Instagram. But we do have Erica's favorite comedians in the show notes, so go look for that.
Yeah, my current favorite. Half the ones I loved growing up are pretty much all canceled now. All right, another free thing you can do is build a support system. We talk about this a lot. Find a partner to discuss this with, an accountability buddy, a family member.
Erica,
Yes.
it's an accountability buddy.
I'm sorry.
I
I won't say that. I'm not.
It's my favorite term. We made it up. I mean,
I know.
I don't think I made it up because it's just two words that
I know.
not
And
sure.
I see what you're doing here. It's really hard to say when I see it written. Accountability
I see what
buddy.
I think I spelled it wrong, but no, it's like
Accountability
accountability
buddy.
But you just don't accentuate the T. It's like you got to do it like accountability buddy.
Accountability buddy. Family member, trusted coworker,
Yeah, could be a colleague.
anyone. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
really like...
I mean, not just anyone. Like, don't find like a random person on the street. But
You never know. Could be...
it could be a neighbor though. Actually, that could be your support system. You might be at a point in your life where like you've got young kids and you've got a neighbor that's also got young kids, and like y'all are finding what you need in each other at the right time and in a proximity. And I think there's a lot in your local community and neighborhood. Like I find a lot of support system things in my local community.
Yeah, that's a great place to look. I mean, the point of this is that knowing that you're not alone in this topic, in this area, and things that I think just in general, knowing that you are not alone is the biggest thing in finding someone to have as an accountability buddy. And it helps you build your confidence in limiting your spending or paying off debt. It's someone who's there to champion you when sometimes it feels like an unattainable goal.
Yeah, and I think, back to the point, Erica, you were making earlier around this is about your overall well-being, which we believe will eventually have positive outcomes on your financial health. Your support system doesn't need to be someone that is like your accountability buddy around money stuff. That's not what we're talking about. I think there's a lot of benefit in having someone like that, but we're just saying find a support system. So again, if you're a new mom and you're really stressed out, and I mean, you might be going through actual like postpartum stuff, or it's difficult I remember it was like very difficult going back to work, having a new baby. And I found a lot of comfort in getting advice from other coworkers who were either in the same place as me or had already been through it and were, 5-10 years ahead of me and could say like, it's going to get better, and like gave good advice. And so I think the point is for whatever you might be dealing with, find a support system and look, it could be in person, it could be online, but like that is a huge way to help your mental health. What do you know about AA?
Not a lot.
So,
what is this, an intervention? Because I signed you up next week.
Maybe you should know a little more about it, Erica. No, I just have I know some people have been through it, and I'm also an expert because I watch TV, and so I see but Greg and I frequently will get into discussions about it. And it's a good example of there's religious aspects to it. And, depending on, what you believe, set that aside, I would say. But AA is a really good example of a support system. It is a proven, trusted, it's got decades of history. I don't actually know how long, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess decades of history. And it really works for many people, right? And I'm just saying it's an example of a structured support system. But there's also highly unstructured ones, right? Which might just be finding a neighbor that's, going through something similar to you.
No, that's interesting. And that's probably a really good, that's probably really good. And if there is anyone who has experience with the program, maybe they might see the similarities. Another one is practicing self-compassion, which I think ties in with what we were just talking about. But no one's perfect. It's so easy for us to beat ourselves up, especially over financial mistakes. And the best we can do is learn from them and move forward. And so my advice, this is what I've started trying to use for myself try to teach this to my kids, is talk to yourself like you're talking to a friend or a child, like for adults. Like you're hopefully not going to be harsh. You're going to be kinder to other people than you are to yourselves. So be easy and use kind words and the same encouragement that you might give to someone else, and give that to yourself.
Yeah, I think the self-compassion one is incredibly important towards yourself and towards other people. And we talked in the beginning about how much we just don't know what other people are going through. And I think when we can remind ourselves of that, I always think of that example of like when someone, cuts you off when you're driving, like envision that they're just got a call that their spouse is dying in the hospital, or that, they've got someone who's like sick in their car, just assume good thing.
Give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yes. Assume, what is the thing? Assume good intent. Anyways, another really good one is just get outside, right?
Yeah.
Like there's so much benefit that can come to, again, our overall well-being from spending time outside, like getting vitamin D out in the sun, but also just outside in nature, right? Like going for a 10-minute walk, going, just sitting in a beautiful park. Like there's so many versions of what, getting outside might look like for you and what's near you, or like what your physical capabilities are. But there's just a lot that can be improved in a bad moment or in a bad day or in a bad season of life by spending more time outside and in nature.
That is a proven point. So that one's a freebie. But then in addition to that, establishing healthy routines, good sleep, healthy eating, and exercise, like they're for your body, but they also help fuel your brain for better financial decisions. Another really important thing that I think we, especially in America, do not take into...
We don't do enough of
is allowing small moments of downtime. They're really important. You need to reset yourself. You need to refuel. You need to recharge. And allowing yourself to be bored can give you space to recognize that you don't need to spend money to feel something. You can feel something just by sitting alone for a few moments and noticing what thoughts and sensations and feelings are showing up in your body. You can use that moment to sit and do like 10 minutes of mindfulness. And also something I should have said earlier, if you're not sure where to start with 10 deep breaths where your exhales are longer than your inhales. That is the perfect place to start. You'll notice...
Oh, I thought you meant right now, Erica.
No. Sorry. I'm already offended by what's happening on the other end of this microphone. But I do recommend to other people to do it. Like after... I think we don't recognize how much we hold our breaths. There's something called like not sleep apnea. There is something called sleep apnea, but even email apnea, like where we're at work and you're typing and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't exhaled. You're not breathing. And it's like different things that we do.
But...
Yeah, I love that new term. So I was like, oh no. So just notice like when you're clenching your body, and when you do notice it, take 10 deep breaths and then sit and try to acknowledge the differences.
Next time you want to buy something, sit and take 10 deep breaths.
That's a great,
even that,
yeah, great
right?
tip.
I mean, we've talked a lot about, you put a space between the impulse and the decision, and the 10 breaths are one way to do it. Another thing that can be super helpful is reading a book, right? It's enjoyable. If you have that pleasure, I certainly enjoy it so much more in retirement. I've had like so much more time to read books and listen to audiobooks. And I love it, and it makes me happy, and it is something that I know it improves my overall well-being because I enjoy it, and it makes me happy, and it's like a leisure relaxation thing for me. But also, I learn stuff from it. So I listen to a mix of like fiction and nonfiction books, and I learn a lot from the fiction books. I learn a lot from the nonfiction books, and I sometimes learn a lot of stuff from fiction books too, right? I like, there's some parallel I can draw to my own life, and it reminds me to enjoy this time with my children or appreciate my relationship, or like all sorts of things.
There is research done that in reading fiction, it is like an escapism or escape mechanism, which is really helpful for people who are just feeling stressed and overwhelmed. It takes you to another place. And, sometimes people really avoid fiction. Find what you enjoy, but you don't always have to read to obtain knowledge, which sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm not going to remember all this. That's not the point. Am I enjoying it while I'm reading it?
Does it feel good now? Yeah.
Right.
And I'm someone who, like, I have, believe it or not, Erica, trouble relaxing and like
I believe it.
Stopping doing things. And reading fiction in particular, for me, it is one of the few ways that I know how to relax and to like just kind of breathe and like get off into another world for a moment and
That's
enjoy
awesome.
it and like slow down and like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
That and meditation.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, honestly, something I really like doing, a little combo of these, is I've started getting into audiobooks and then like going for long walks in nature, walkabouts in nature with my audiobook.
I love it so much. There's a lot of times Greg wants to go for a walk with me. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm like really into this book right now. And I was sort of envisioning a walk with my book. And like, I've seen you all day. So,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And so every now and then we'll actually like both be into a book we're listening to and we'll just walk next to each other
Oh,
with
that's
our headphones
nice.
on.
That's nice.
But you know, you're like nearby if I need something.
Well, it's like
we
if
could
you were
talk.
sitting on the couch next to each other, each reading, you know, a physical copy of a book. It's no
Exactly,
different.
yeah.
You're just being a little more active.
I also really enjoy, this is not combining things as much, but like, I like cleaning kind of. Like I like, I don't know, I think I like cleaning bathrooms. Not other people's, to be clear, but like my own, I don't mind. But I kind of like cleaning things. And I listen to audiobooks while I'm like cleaning and doing things around the house. And it makes that activity, which is kind of like already doesn't suck to me, but like it makes it more enjoyable, right?
Yeah.
So there, you can layer the audiobooks onto activities that you already enjoy, like walking, or for me, cleaning, or activities that you don't enjoy, like you need to fold laundry or you need to, you know, deal with yard work. Like listen to a good book and like you really get your mind off things. I mean, I listen to books when I'm running and it like, I don't enjoy running necessarily, but it makes the time fly by like a lot faster.
Yeah, that's a great one. Similarly, journaling, writing down your
I'm
financial
terrible at
fears.
this.
I'm also not great. Not since
I'm good at listening to books. I'm good at getting outside. I suck at journaling.
Yeah, that's its own. I don't know how it took on this new. You know, like we used to just like, didn't you have like a Dear Diary in 7th grade or something? But like this is like the new mature version, and it's just kind of. I try it. I struggle, but don't take it from us. But maybe tell us how it goes for you. But write down your financial fears and your financial hopes, because seeing them on paper can help you process them and come up with solutions. And you can revisit your journal weekly to track your progress, and you know. Same way you go easy on yourself, applaud yourself for successes and growth.
The one thing I've gotten better at with journaling is I know I suck at journaling, but for like 10 to 15 years, I was a sucker for any sort of journaling product, you know, like a custom journal that allows you, I could literally right now, you give me 2 minutes, I could pull out 10 different specific types of like customized journals that are like, they have prompts for different things in them and like special covers and they're like bound and pretty. And they have like a half a page filled out on them and then they've never been used again. So I'm at least better at realizing I should not be spending money on custom journals. When I do get the hankering to like write something down and pretend a journal, I just do it like electronically or in a simple notebook. Like, you know, I've quit buying fancy journals thinking that's what's going to motivate me this time.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
That's good.
Only took me like, 15 tries.
Well, I mean, maybe you can like re-gift them and be like, this didn't work for me.
Yeah. I'll re-gift it, but be like, ignore the first 3 pages.
Yeah.
Because that's my problems.
You know, or like, here, read this and tell me how to solve these for me.
Right. Yeah.
Well, the last thing that I think we could recommend for this, and the reason it's the last is that it is one that would potentially cost money, is seek professional help, therapy or counseling. So just as you'd see a doctor for a broken bone, consider a therapist for your struggling mind. And that's probably what a lot of people are doing for mental health. Hopefully, therapy's great.
Yeah.
We both
I'm
are
a
big
fan of
fans.
therapy. Yeah.
But they can help you identify financial anxieties and unhealthy coping mechanisms.
What's interesting, Erica, this wasn't purposeful, but you pointed out everything else on this list we just went through doesn't cost any money to do, right? Yeah, certainly you could invest money in like reading books about how to establish healthy routines or whatever. But like in theory, all those things are free to do, which is great. That's awesome that all the things we need to do to improve our mental health really don't cost us anything. But like you said, therapy can and sometimes should, right? It's not, like I think, it can be hard to find ones covered by your insurance, but I'll come back to some recommendations on that. But I will say there are a couple things you can do with kind of in the like therapy counseling space that are interesting. And like, again, we're not professionals, but I have done some of this myself. And I think I might have talked about it in the AI episode that Greg and I did. But I've done, so a very specific example. I have used ChatGPT, so AI, and for, lack of a better term, artificial intelligence, but tools like ChatGPT, but specifically the Notebook LM tool, which is one of Google's products. It's a free product. Or I think they might have a paid version, but you can access it for free. And Notebook LM basically lets you create a small ecosystem. So like most AI, or a lot of the chatbots like ChatGPT and Gemini, which is Google's product, and Microsoft, and a lot of them all have their own, they go out and they look at like everything that's out there. So you could be getting sources and like information on things that don't align with like your ideals or what you believe. So you might be like, let's say you asked it for parenting advice, which is what I was doing. You could be getting answers that in no way align with your values and ideals, right? What I love about Notebook LM is you can load in a select group of sources and make like your own little ecosystem. So I love the book Good Inside, and I loaded in a ton of basically like YouTube podcast interviews that the author of Good Inside has done. You can send YouTube links in, it'll get the words out of it basically, and access that as a source. I put in a bunch of articles of like trusted people that I like their parenting, like that have like written articles and other things. So I made the ecosystem of parenting advice of like what I aspire to be. And that's very focused on teenagers also. And I would ask it specific questions about situations that I was facing. So I essentially was using AI as a free therapist. But what I like I'm a big fan of paid therapy. What I like about this is it was backed by like a book that I've read, right, called Good Inside. It's a really good book. And it was real time. So, like the bad thing about therapy, unless you're like super wealthy and you have like a therapist on call, is, you might go once a month or you might go every week, but sometimes you have like a moment where you're like, I'm stressing about this thing and I need advice now of how to deal with the situation in real time. So I would go to it and I would say like, hey, here's the scenario. Here's what my teenager did or what I asked. And here's what I said. And like, often they're like, they're always like, well, that's not how you should handle the situation. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm here. They will give you like really good advice. It's like getting advice from the person that wrote this book but that's customized to the specific situation I'm facing and in real time. And so I think there are some like fascinating uses of AI that I have personally used it for that I would put in the therapy and counseling bucket. And it's actually similar but different to the term like rubber ducking it. Have you heard that term, Erica?
No. I can't even guess what that means.
It was started from like software engineers and it was the idea that you can like debug things, which I would reframe in like regular people term as like optimize things or improve things by verbalizing the code. And again, it started for software engineers, but it's the idea, and I used to keep a rubber duck on my desk at work of like, to use a work example, I'd go to my boss and I would like vent about some situation and then sort of be asking for advice. But half of it is I was like saying, I knew the solution. I was almost like saying it out loud myself. But A, I don't even always have time to do that with my boss. And B, I don't always look like the best personally when I'm sitting there like ranting about something. And ultimately, like I already know the solution and I came up with it. But so I would the idea is you like, just talk to the duck, right? So if that sounds like weird to you, you don't have to physically talk to a duck, but talk it out yourself is the idea, right? You verbalizing it. There you go. Erica just busted out a rubber duck. Put that on your desk. Next time you have a problem, be like, hey, the landlord is doing X, Y, Z, and like literally talk it out, not just in your head. And you could actually argue journaling as a version of rubber ducking it. But the idea is like, talk to the rubber duck first, because I'm going to go real deep here, Erica, but like the rubber duck is like a mirror. You're talking to yourself is the point. Okay.
I see what you did there.
That was deep. I've never read that anywhere. I just made that up. And I feel like it's probably been said before, but
no,
it's like looking in the mirror and talking to yourself, but you have to actually talk out loud. That's the spirit of the rubber ducking it. So the point is like when you're struggling with some of these things, financial stuff or mental health things, like you can rubber duck it, right? You can talk to yourself about it and talk through it. So rubber ducking it and AI are two of my like free versions of this. My other piece of advice, which I think is pretty killer, not to like pat myself on the back here, but I only say this because I spent a long time thinking that you could only find a decent therapist if you were willing to spend like $100 an hour for them, and that like all the good therapists don't take insurance and blah, blah, blah. And so when I left work, I was like, I'm not making the kind of money I was making anymore, but I still like the idea of seeing a therapist. And I can't even remember where I learned about this through, but I think I read about it somewhere. You can go to, there's other places you can do this, but a quick and easy way to do it, which is what was helpful for me, it's a pretty nice user experience, is there's actually a webpage on psychologytoday.com where you can go in, it's not perfect, but it's pretty close to it. I found it to be pretty accurate. You can go in and you can do the advanced filter. You can put in your specific insurance. It has like checkboxes for all of them. And therapists have gone and put their profiles into this, so it should be pretty accurate. You can actually type in the type of therapy you're looking for. If it's like family therapy, couples, general, CBT. You can type in certain specialties of like, do you want someone who does like anger management or ADHD or addiction or like different stuff? You can say if you want someone male, female, non-binary. You can say if you want someone in person. You can do all these filters and your zip code. And then you can read profiles of people who actually accept insurance. And I will say, the quality, what I was always told is the people who accept insurance often are earlier in their career and they don't have like an established practice yet. Because it's a lot of time to deal with insurance. Like you're wasting billable hours by filing with insurance companies. You don't make as much, blah, blah, blah. You get the like pre-negotiated rate. So I definitely notice more like less people with like PhDs and more people that are like a licensed professional counselor, which is a different type of educational background. More people earlier in their careers. And then I'd say some people who might just, for whatever reason, they've chosen to continue to accept insurance at their practice. So sometimes it's the part of town they work in. Sometimes it's, different things. But I once ruled out that I could ever find a decent therapist that was covered by insurance. And I found one. I kind of quit seeing them for like different reasons. But I found someone that I liked for a while, like post leaving work. And I would pay $20 a session. And when I was working, there was someone who I really liked. And I went to them like once in the past year. They charge like $250 a session now.
Wow.
Right. And they used to charge like $200, but it's gone up. And that's really expensive. And I'm still very much pro therapy, but I'm recognizing like it can be cost prohibitive for many people to attend therapy. And some people think there's not a lot of options on their insurance, but I would push you to like look a little harder because I thought that, but I never really put the work into like finding someone. And I found this particular feature on the Psychology Today website to be very helpful. Yeah. And to present like a ton of options in Atlanta. I don't know if it works as well in like smaller towns, but like in big cities, it had a ton of options.
Yeah,
that's people I could go see.
That's a great resource. And also, I mean, I think something to keep in mind if you are newer to therapy is you're going to get out what you put in, so you have to show up ready to unpack. I think two great options there, having a paid resource and the free AI resource and rubber ducking, which I'll maybe try one of these days with my rubber ducky. Yeah, I mean, this topic in general, mental health is like a very, very, it's a big topic. It's a big topic in today's world. It's a big topic with finances. There's just, like we said, there's just a whole lot going on right now. And Maggie and I especially enjoy kind of talking about it and how it ties in with finances. If there's any other topics in alignment with this specific one that you would want to hear about, please definitely let us know so we can dive into it.
Yeah. And then also if you've got, we went through, a lot of the things we went through, they weren't like earth shattering of like, I know you guys have heard about like journaling or reading books or getting outside, but I think it's important to hear this stuff, right, in a focused way, and like these reminders and these nudges of like we a lot of times we know all the things we could do, we're not necessarily doing them for various reasons. And so I hope they're helpful reminders, but also if there's certain like tactics that we didn't cover that you think are really helpful, like shoot us a note on Instagram. We'll share them with our audience also. Erica, I can tell this is a topic that you like talking about.
I do. Yeah. I think that mental health is a topic that has been taboo for so long. And now that it is a little more common in our everyday topics of conversation, it's really good to tie it in with like the bigger issues that we face in life, like dealing with our finances. And so these are really important topics to me. I've tried to do a lot of work on just bettering my mind, you know? It doesn't always have to be something like big and heavy. Sometimes it's just like learning how to switch your mindset and things. And so for me, this ties in with the finances because I am one of those people who is freaked out and intimidated and need to like take those 10 breaths before I log into my account to do something.
But speaking of doing something, I think a good challenge that I always like, I don't say this on every episode, but that I should and is a good thing to do is like, just pick one thing that we talked about from this episode and really commit to doing it tomorrow, right? Or today. Maybe it's in the morning and you got more time today, but like one financial action and one mental health action, right? Or just if that's too much, because that's technically two, just pick one thing, right? And just take that first step. And I think there's, you know, a lot of momentum that can be built from that. And maybe your first step is you go read the show notes to this episode, which you can find on the insideoutmoney.org website, or you can click through from whatever podcast app you're listening to and go look at some of the like top episodes, you know, around financial basics that we cover, and or go listen to the meditation episode or whatever it is. Like that could be the one thing you do to just kind of get yourself like started. Or maybe you want to go leave us a review because that's going to make you feel really good about yourself, like doing something nice for somebody else. So you could go leave us a review, and or you could share this episode with somebody else, a friend or family member. So, oh, also your one thing could just be going and like watching a Netflix special that Erica shared.
That's a good one.
Her favorite comedian. That's an easy one, right? And like,
hey, I even put links to YouTube because YouTube's free.
I saw that.
Yeah, not even Netflix.
Oh, they are all YouTube.
Yeah.
That's nice. I like Tig Notaro a lot. I like a lot of people. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. And we always appreciate you spending some time with us. We hope this podcast in general is a positive piece towards your mental health and your financial health and is not detracting from it. If it ever is, you should definitely quit listening to this. But if you enjoy it, keep listening. And we always appreciate it if you want to leave us a written review on Apple Podcasts. It's super helpful. It helps other people to find the podcast.
Yeah, and if you have thoughts or questions, we definitely want to hear from you, especially on this topic or any other topic. And you can leave a voicemail or text us at 404-981-3370 or hit us up on Instagram. Thanks, Maggie.
Yeah, thanks, Erica. See you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.
We going